the sharks are circling. But hey, good morning, everybody. It is Coffee Pan Dulce time, and it is August 17th. I don't even know what, I guess it's the third Wednesday. And it also happens to be in this market, as we forgot the music, it is Charlotte Pride Week, which we traditionally celebrate, and this year is true as ever, is that we do it in the third weekend of August. But in the week preceding it, there's all kinds of small interactive events and things of that nature. And I know there's a few politicians that are having some town halls this week, and just a whole lot going on. And some stuff has already happened this last weekend as well. So we are full of pride and full of rainbows. And this the talk of the town. It's a huge event here in Charlotte. We average about, in 2019, we had a little over 200,000 guests. So we'll be talking about that and other stuff. But good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Christian. How are y'all?
Okay.
Good morning. Happy Pride Week here in Charlotte.
I know.
I know you're very, Jenny, I know this is extra special. We'll be talking about that for you since you were really involved with Charlotte Pride, but this is the first time, in 3 years that we'll do
3 years that we've had full-blown in-person Charlotte Pride and programming. We've had it throughout the year of 2022 this year. We had a Real Out Film Festival in May. That was a full-blown film festival again. First time for that in 3 years. Everything else before this year and after 2019, of course, was dominated by the pandemic, and we did a lot of virtual programming just to keep people happy and try to give them some taste of Pride, because it's really hard to do it virtually, but we did the best we could. But and Charlotte Pride did a really good job of keeping everybody's interest as much as possible, but it is nice to be back and actually be able to do the events that everybody's come to love over the last 20 years of Charlotte Pride.
I'm getting excited about it. Well, listen, we're going to be talking about that because that's actually our topic today. But as Jenny said, we want to welcome everyone to Coffee Pan Dulce. Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon, Mama Ruth, where Mama Ruth was all summer. And we do want to thank Pride Bernie and Pride Trump Pinata for joining us today. They'll be leaving the show, so you can just focus on these three beautiful faces. Are here. They don't talk anyway. So we want to thank anyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us later on YouTube and then also on Facebook. But now the thousands of individuals that listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. As Jenny said, our viewership and listenership has gone up. The last 30 days, we've had over 30,000 viewers and about 50,000 listeners and so forth. So the last 30 days have been actually very good. And so we're very excited. We do want to go around the Brady Bunch screen, and I'm off track there. We want to go around the Brady Bunch screen now to introduce yourself and the imaginary button you have. We'll start with Jenny and then Barbara. So Jenny, please.
Well, again, I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a LGBT activist and a political activist in the local area. Of course, for me, it's a National Organization for Women, which is also a very intersectional group, and we also have many LGBT members all over the country. Of course, anything to do with improving healthcare quality in this country, including a way to pay for it. I mean, it's kind of a big, you can have the best healthcare system in the world, but if you don't have the common sense as a people to make sure that nobody gets left behind, affordable healthcare is social justice. Many of the crimes against humanity is because we can't afford to take care of our people, or at least that's what the government says. And so things of that nature, of course, Black Lives Matter, social justice, and all that. So, Barbara?
I'm Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. And we've had a very violent Charlotte weekend. So the top of my list is gun violence and healthcare for all. We've had some interesting conversations with people. They're not aware that Obamacare is ACA. And I'm like, what? Google it, figure this out. But people they say they're on ACA. And I said, well, that's Obamacare. That's what the Republicans dubbed it. And they're like, oh, no, that's not true. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So very interesting. But I guess I'd like people to be more informed. So I guess that's why I'm bringing it up. But other than that, I'm doing fine. And Art and I both tested negative. We had a COVID scare because someone in his running group had it, and he sat across from them and ran with them. So I said, oh, great, I'm going to get secondhand COVID. But we're both negative as of this morning, so I'm happy. So, good.
Excellent. Well, that's good news, Barb. And I'm Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons, first and with everyone else, are healthcare for all, Medicare for all, Moms of Inaction, Gun Sense legislation. I've got my pride button here. And then also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who was a young guest of ours who passed away last year at a very early age. Now, with that said, let's go. Salute, right, Jen?
Yes.
Let's salute to our neighbors. Whatever you
I've been doing this for 4 years.
Salute to our neighbors, whatever you're drinking this morning, and we want to thank you for joining us and our neighbors for watching us. And then, of course, our producer, sponsor, and supplier, Manolo's Bakery in Central Avenue. Listen, y'all, these are so delicious.
Those
Jen
things
has
are
one.
great.
Yes.
So I partook. I swung by the Christian Hacienda over there, and Christian gave me one of those little mini donuts.
Oh my goodness.
Good gosh, they're kryptonite. Like if you're planning on cutting calories, that's not going to be on the menu unless you only eat those for the day. And
it's just like heaven.
Oh,
they're very light. They're not as dense as the ones that he's famous for, which are good. They're just they're just big.
They're like cotton candy in donut form. They are so tasty and the right amount of sweetness that if I had a bag of them, they wouldn't see the light of day. I'd just be sucking them down as I leave Manolos. I'd be in the park. I'd look like a chip full of donuts in my mouth. They're unreal. Like if you live in the greater Charlotte area and go by and get one of those, I don't even know what they're called, but they're just, I call them little crack donuts.
We should come up with a name for them and tell Manolo to start calling them. How about...
maybe we have a naming contest.
Little Manolos? Those are little Manolos.
I don't know what they are, but they're little devil cakes is what they are.
Exactly.
They so are tempting.
That's right. Good. Good description, Jen. And as she said, Manolo's Bakery is on Central Avenue here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Please visit your Black and brown small businesses or any local small business. Please always try to buy local. Now, we've got 3 current events we're going to talk about very quickly before we go into our topic. Today's topic is Charlotte Pride Returns. We've been waiting 3 years to do this. Returns in person. And it's going to be a huge event. I don't know, Jen, you may have some numbers you can talk about later, but it may be the largest event that Charlotte will have this year. Is that possible, or is there?
I think it's very. I think not only do I think it's going to be probably the largest outdoor event in 2022 for Charlotte as a city and a county, but I also believe it's probably going to be a personal best for Charlotte Pride. Just because just the pent up demand. We draw very heavily regionally. We draw, and so we'll get into that when we get into that segment. But I have probably a little nervous just because there's going to be so many people here. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. But we're ready.
We'll have a good time. And Barb, if you want to join us, we'll be there. So all right. So the 3 current events. The first event. Hardline MAGA Republicans have come up with a new term. It's called Cano, Tino. Instead of Rhino, they use as Republican in name only. Now they're calling people Tinos. They're called Trump in name only. These are people who say they support Trump, but they really don't. They're still infighting. So now they've gotten That's the term they're using. It's a derogatory term, apparently. In the state of Texas, Jenny and my home state, and Mama Ruth, by the way, Ken Paxton, the indicted attorney general, who's under so much legal problems, the attorney general there who does nothing but sue everyone else except help Texas, is now, the new polling shows he's a neck race against Rochelle Garza, who's the Democratic nominee for attorney general. It is the closest race they've ever had, like in 20 years. And Abbott and Beto, I think their race is getting closer, but this is really close. The third one is, if you want to comment, here in the state of North Carolina, in Charlotte, and in South Carolina as well, David Tepper, the owner of the Charlotte Panthers, all kinds of mess pulled out of Rock Hill. Anyway, he is now offering the city of Rock Hill, the county of, city of Rock Hill, $80 million to settle their bankruptcy lawsuit. He owes them $120 million, and now he is saying, we'll settle this for $80 million. So just hear what y'all think about that. Anybody want to comment on any of those three topics?
Well, I think I'll start with the Tepper one first. I mean, all the more reason not to build him a stadium. The whole thing with the Rock Hill and punching down on the city of Rock Hill, it says all you need to say with him. That's Mecklenburg County and the city of Charlotte. If the Bank of America Stadium is a nice facility. If he wants to stay there, he can remodel it, he can figure it out, but he doesn't need a new stadium, especially. That should be a lesson. Ken Paxton, just like his counterpart Abbott, I really, really hope. This has been a long time coming. He needs to be replaced, and he spends more time worrying about which states he's going to sue than he does actually protecting Texans and doing his job, which is, there's so many facets to the attorney general, and he's been a massive failure in a really, really more shameful than Abbott in many ways, and just brutal. He needs to be. He's done it. He set the bar pretty low. He ought to be in prison, and probably someday will, hopefully. And then the Tinos, I don't know why they don't call them minnows. MAGA's a name only, and we just call them minnows or guppies. I mean, they're good one, Jenny. They're being used minnows as bait. So minnows, MAGA's a name only.
I like that one.
I mean, it's a little funnier. I don't think
it is funny.
I don't know
how the Tino one. I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, to me,
that just shows how creative they aren't.
I mean, the whole Trump in the archives of secret, non-secret, whatever. Just the crazy stuff that's coming from the talking heads on the right side of the ledger, as far as the Fox News and all the other propaganda networks, of trying to figure out how to spin him breaking or allegedly breaking the Espionage Act.
Yeah,
is just delicious, because I know this is getting off topic, just a scooch.
Yeah, but it's big news.
The Twitter meltdowns on this is just and when Republican officials, especially people that have access to those archives as well, when asked by reporters, when they get in front of a reporter that's not just a lackey for the Republican Party, and they actually do their job. And I just saw an interview with a Republican official that can access top secret and classified information. When asked, would you take records home? He said, no, absolutely not. It's illegal.
That's the word.
Everyone's. It's interesting. I mean, I know we've gone off topic, but everyone who was so against it. Remember when it dropped last Monday when it all happened, and now they're backtracking when they realize, oh shoot, he had classified information.
It's a little different. It's not like stealing a couple trinkets out of the White House gift
Sound like
shop
it took a stapler.
and taking a couple of the monogram presidential towels, or
It's like
maybe
he
even
took the copy machine.
yeah, we don't care about that. But nuclear secrets and things like that, those are keepers. Those stay
there's so much, and we keep finding out.
Those aren't like library books. He didn't check out a couple Dr. Seuss books, from the Library of Congress and anything like that. You don't get to check these type of things out, and so the cognitive dissonance on of these Republicans is losing their mind over it, and Boebert and the usual suspects that ought to be worrying about their own, how they're going to figure out how to stay out of prison themselves, are popping in and saying how un-American it is to serve a warrant, a lawful warrant, by a Trump-appointed judge.
Yes.
And by
and that judge has bodyguards now.
And the FBI director is a Trump-appointed director. And so you got two people that are Trump-appointed that served him this warrant. And because they're like rational adults, and they go, I don't care how I got this gig, but no public official should be taking those type of things home or with them or as a parting gift. And these are 11 boxes of very critical information. That
after they took boxes in June.
That was
correct.
They took boxes, and then his attorney said that's everything. And then someone, we think, knocked on him and said, no, that's not everything. There's actually more.
Now, I do think the best thing about this story, and then I'll shut up for a little bit, is when the FBI was swooping in last week and Barron was playing on one of his game stations or whatever, and they were passing by, and Barron points and goes, well, the safe is over there, and just went back to playing his games. I'm like, the only rational Trumpster, Trump kid is Barron, and he's like, well, you hold up my game a little bit. So if I show you the safe, I can get rid of a lot of people on my way. So I love Generation Z. I love the fact that he just like narked on his own dad, and the fact that we've got the records back, which is the most important thing. And the second thing is, you forget about indicting him on the January 6th thing. Just the espionage.
So many other reasons that he's going to be indicted.
Espionage Act alone, is life imprisonment or the death penalty. It's a capital offense.
Okay, listen, Barbara, I want you to comment on these, but Jen has taken us to our first break. So let's take our first break. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out.
Thank you very much. And so, Barb, on those three topics, do you want to comment on any of those topics?
I don't know anything about the Attorney General in Texas, so I'll take a pass. Tepper is being Tepper. And I still attend Ed's Friday morning Zoom, so he will have a lot to say about this. So I will probably postpone comments on that too. But what was the third one?
The third one was the Tino, the term they're using now, Tino, Trump in name only now.
I heard a word and I didn't know what that was. Thanks for explaining it to me. But why do they have to keep renaming themselves? We don't know who we are?
Well,
or the group is getting smaller and smaller and they got to have special names for it?
Well, as people are dropping out of the little MAGA clique because they've decided that drinking the Kool-Aid's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
It's the hardcore psychopathic MAGAs that are calling I guess, the MAGA light Republicans that are going, you know, I'm ready to get off the crazy train. This is, and you're seeing it more and more. You're seeing a lot of Republicans either register as independents. You're seeing a lot of them dropping out of party politics. You're seeing a lot of donors starting to drop out, and so and of course you're seeing some of the sitting politicians in the Congress that are starting to pull away from the hardcore MAGAs and saying, when this, and I said again, in 2019, at the end of the day, there will be a massive fracture in the Republican Party, and who will dunk on the MAGAs themselves is going to be the remnants of
you did predict that. I remember.
And you're starting to see Governor Dixakis down in Florida. He's also starting to dunk on Trump, including laughing about the seizure of the records, and is even defending the FBI and defending the judge, because the judge is a sitting judge in Florida. Said this was served in my state. It was done in a lawful way. There's nothing illegal about it, because it gets Trump out of his way, so he can run the president.
So just to let you know, I actually found that in an article in the Rolling Stone. The Rolling Stone was doing an article about how in McCobb County, whatever state this is, there were two dueling Republican conventions, each claiming to be true Trump loyalists. So one convention was actually the MAGA people, and the other one was like MAGA light, and they were accusing each other of not being really. One was calling each other the rhinos, and the other was calling each other the team. These are like grown ass adults. Yeah, this is crazy.
Are we adults
You're
anymore?
using the grown ass adult part. You're using that very loosely.
I know exactly.
They may be chronologically adults. That's about where it stops, because they're one step from the drool cup. I mean, just like
go ahead, Jed. I'm sorry.
And I mean, they're just literally melting down by the day. Chris, they're also watching all their cult leaders get in some big time trouble. I mean, you got Giuliani going down in Georgia. You got Lady Lindsey Graham.
Lady Graham
is also being targeted by Georgia.
Oh, good golly.
You're just in this alone. I'm gonna talk about something that I'm about to touch on here more in two queers, but literally Trump is between lawsuits and criminal charges.
That's exhausting.
He got 36 current different cases he's facing, and between civil and criminal, and he's not even been out of the White House 2 years yet. I mean,
he's about to go for the White House.
Agnew looked like a lightweight.
He's about to go from the White House to the big house for sure.
Yeah. So hey, Jen and Barb, just to let you know about the Kim Paxton thing. When I was leaving Texas, moving to North Carolina, Kim Paxton was running for Attorney General, and before he even won that election, he was actually indicted by a grand jury, and they haven't gone to trial because they wanted to wait till after he left office to go to trial. So he's been under indictment for over 8 years now. Plus, 4 of his actual attorney generals are attorneys that are from his office quit and sued him for bribery. The FBI is investigating him because he had an affair with a fundraising lady. His wife took his place as a state representative, and he's the attorney general, and they formed this Christian evangelical church. It is all craziness there. I mean, it is like, even if you thought, there's so much. I don't know how you can look at him and go, this is crazy shit. I mean, it's just crazy. So it's just crazy.
And people are still voting. It sounds like what's his name from Washington, D.C. that went to jail and came back and ran for mayor and got elected. I'm like, are you?
Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but in his primary, Kim Paxton, he beat the Bush grandson. Jeb Bush's son. He beat him in the primary, And so anyway, that was interesting. And then the last one about the Tepper thing, I just think it's so interesting that Tepper's company filed for bankruptcy. They pulled out of building this thing and all that kind of stuff, and they owe all these companies over $120 million. They're actually suing the city of Rock Hill because the city of Rock Hill wants to move the case from bankruptcy court in Delaware to South Carolina so the local people can be on the grand jury, and Tepper doesn't want that. And so now they're saying because it looks like they may move it to South Carolina, and if and that's why Tepper's going, okay, tell them we'll settle this for $80 million if they just stop this. Well, how do you have $80 million if you filed for bankruptcy? So I don't know how that. Anyway, it'd be interesting to hear about that. But to Jenny's point, Jenny, I read the other sometime this weekend that Trump on Monday issued a statement how upset he was that the FBI stole his passport. They took his passport from the safe or whatever. They stole 3 passports, an expired one, a current one, and I guess, I don't know, some whatever. And so he's very, very upset. And what they're saying is the only reason the FBI takes your passport is because they don't want you to travel. They may think you're a flight risk. So there are people that are saying that they're afraid he may actually go to a country where he can't be extradited, like he's on vacation, like to Russia or somewhere else. And so he's very upset. He wants his passport, but other people are saying, from South Korea. But other people are saying, you would think, isn't that something that the first thing you think of is, where's my passport?
Well, if I was
really thinking about it,
if I was in his shoes, I'd be looking for my passport too.
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Crazy.
He'll be calling his son-in-law from the air, going, I'm heading to Saudi Arabia. I need some of that Saudi money that you got because I swiped these records.
Maybe he'll join. Maybe he'll join that LIV golf league. Yeah.
He had a tournament at his course.
He had a tournament. That's right. Yeah. Hey, before we go to our actual topic, I just wanted to touch base on this. NBC News did reported some polling that was just released this weekend. It says that 60% of the Latino voters say the U.S. is on the wrong track, but remain largely ignored by both parties. 72% of Latino voters said that it was on the wrong track. 60% it's actually lowered. Under Trump, it was 72% people said we were on the wrong track. Under Biden, 60%. So it's gone down a little bit. The Latino or Latinx voters are actually a little bit happier. But I think that the thing about this is that many of them say that both Democrats or Republicans aren't really reaching out to them those are very important numbers. Maybe we'll do a show in September, October about those. So, all right. So let's go to our topic. Let's take our second break, and then we'll go directly into our topic. Our second break is a public service announcement that Jenny did back in July. I can't remember what it was.
About 4 weeks ago.
About 4 weeks ago, about the MPX virus that's been spreading around the country. We did a show on it last week, which is very successful. So this is going to be our second break, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Hey, y'all, very important PSA. Monkeypox, a viral infection similar to chickenpox, is on the rise. There's been over 1,500 cases documented in the United States. If you've been exposed to the pox by a lover or by any other intimate contact, make sure you contact your county official or your personal physician. To learn more, you can contact any of your county health officials and see about a vaccine and or possible mitigating the symptoms. Be safe out there and have a fun summer. Bye.
Thank you, Boo, for that information. Hey, everyone. We just want to wish you a happy Pride. June is International Pride Month, and we're celebrating it all month long. Also, we do want to thank those who watch us on Facebook and YouTube, and the people who now listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. We want to thank you. Don't forget that our summer schedule is out, so we have our topics that we'll be covering in July and also in August. And just want to say Happy Pride. I'll dance out. Happy Pride.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Jenny, for doing that way ahead of when people were talking about it. Last week's show has got 3.5 thousand viewers, at least touching, but 2.5 viewers and almost 7,000 listeners already for last week's show. It was very educational. So we're going to talk about Charlotte Pride returns. So we'll start with you, Jenny, because you're Miss Pride. So,
well, I mean,
talk to us about what's going on. All that wonderful stuff.
Well, I mean, first of all, we're already into our Pride calendar, our Pride week. By the time that you're viewing this, we'll already be about halfway through the week. But the main event, of course, is the Saturday and Sunday, because the all-day Saturday is the festival, or what is probably the heaviest attended part, and then we have the leftover of the festival on Sunday, plus the parade that starts around noon. And it is typical of most big city parades. We have, all kinds of community booths, everything from churches to civic groups to political parties to corporations, and of course there'll be food and beverage for sale, including adult beverages, and there's stuff for kids. It's like a street fair, but only gay. I mean, it's just a little fair that and that's really the evolution of Pride events. And Charlotte Pride, of course, we do in ours in Uptown Charlotte, or what a lot of people would call downtown Charlotte. And we do it primarily on a street called Tryon Street here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we shut down the entire street. There's no cross traffic. And it just really turns into just a giant street fair. And it's amazing. We haven't had an event like this since 2019, obviously 2020 and 2021, but especially 2020, nobody had, there was no way to have Pride events with no vaccine and no way of slowing down COVID. And so, in fact, we were just announcing our schedule when in March of 2020. I mean, we literally, in fact, we were about to host a international conference of Pride groups from all over the world here in Charlotte, North Carolina that month, and had to go to cancel that. It's called Interpride, and it's over 80 countries, and because Pride is now a network of all over the world. I've got friends in Europe, and they've got their local prides, and everybody does them in different months, just depending on weather. I've got a good friend that lives in Malta, which is a island nation in the middle of the Mediterranean, and they do their Pride in September, for example.
So Jen, that's a good point. Maybe you can explain to our viewers and our listeners who may not be familiar with Pride. Hopefully they are now, if they watched this show over the last several years. Yeah. Why Pride Month is in June. It's considered Pride Month, International Pride. But some cities have them later, and the reason is
weather. I mean, a lot of it's weather. A lot of it's regional commitments. The city of Charlotte, for example, there's a lot that goes on during June, including, because we are the headquarters of NASCAR as well, and so they have a thing called Speed Week, and they do it in approximately the same area as where we would do Charlotte Pride, and so they asked us to do it in August, and it also works out because several of the really large prides in our region, Washington D.C. and New York City, which is the granddaddy of all the prides, both do theirs in June. Washington does theirs in early June. New York City, of course, finishes out the month because, the Stonewall riots happened at the end of June in 1969. And so they keep to the traditional weekend. And many of those people come to Charlotte, New York, because we're a huge financial services city, and there's a huge tie between us and New York City. And then Washington, D.C. is just not that far away. And then our neighbor to the south, Atlanta, Georgia, which has a massive Pride, but they do theirs in the fall. And one, because I don't think you can do a Pride in June or August in Atlanta. I think you would barbecue people right there. It's just too dang high. And so a lot of them, it could be either regional traditions that maybe they have very large events during June or in certain parts of the year. And then sometimes flat out weather and logistics. So if you live in Australia, for example, if you did it in June, that's the middle of their winter. If you did it in Atlanta in June, it's just too dang hot. There's so many, and it just makes sense to split it up during the year.
Interesting you say that. For many, many years, for as long as I remember, in Dallas, Texas, their Pride was in September. And they moved it to June because now in Dallas, September is the hottest month. So,
Really?
so that's, yes. So they've moved theirs. And you would think, oh, June. No, it actually gets hotter. July, August, September is the hottest month in like just this month.
Well,
I think they've had like 8 days of 100 degrees already.
Well,
so
in August, when I lived there for a few short years as a kid in kindergarten and first grade, I was there in August, which is ironic. So on one side of my family has tons of Lutheran pastors.
Yeah.
Their big vacation time is in August. Yeah. And a lot of them lived up north, like in Wisconsin and places like that. And they would come to see us back in Texas, where most of our family's from, and want to go to Six Flags Over Texas, which is a huge Disneyland. In August. And of course, they're used to like Wisconsin weather, like, 75, 80-degree highs.
Yeah.
And as Barbara knows, because she's from Illinois, and which is neighbor to Wisconsin, they don't have the kind of summers that maybe a Dallas, Texas has. And of course, that is the hottest month in Dallas. The Dallas DFW area is just August. It's just brutal. It really, and then you go out there to Six Flags, that blacktop.
Oh,
how do you say that, Jen? The ground is like tar, right? Blacktop. And it's so hot that your shoes will actually stick, and it's just, you can smell. It's almost like you're walking on dinosaurs, like a tar pit.
You feel like you're in a little Brea tar pits out in California. It's a combination of metal rides, roller coasters, heat stroke, and just a melting concrete tar surface where you walk on the pathways. It's just so delicious and fun. And I was a kid, and it didn't bother me. I kind of laughed about it. But, I had these middle-aged aunts and uncles dragging their kids around saying, "You're having fun, right?" And they're coming in from like Kansas or friggin' Wisconsin.
I was the kid that just held everyone's purses. Yeah, I was the kid that just held everyone's purses and stayed in the shade drinking lemonade. I'm like, no, y'all go ride the riots. I'm good.
But even the state of Texas, they do their state fair in October for a reason. Yeah, because it's not as blazing hot in October, and it's so much more enjoyable. So that just says a lot. But to get back to Pride, Charlotte Pride, the last time that we had it, which was 2019, we had a little over 200,000 guests, according to the city of Charlotte. We anticipate probably that, maybe possibly higher if we base it on our film festival in May. We had more patrons come through our film festival on the 5-day festival we had this year than the 7-day one we had in 2019. And so we shattered records for that. I would not be shocked to see us in or around, 250,000 people in those 2 days.
Yeah. So a question to you, Barb, because I know you're in South Charlotte, and where I am too, but I always like to use you as an example because you're more of a reflection of South Charlotte than I am, I think. And so have your neighbors been talking about Pride, or is that something that they're even aware of going on?
Pride flag, because I walk every day. I've only seen one Pride flag.
Okay.
It doesn't seem to be a topic. I actually mentioned it to my neighbors because Art was going to be going to Canada this weekend for a 150-mile marathon, and his son has COVID, and so does the fiance. So that ain't happening. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I wasn't even going to be here. We were going to go to Asheville. Well, now we're not going to do that. So I hope we'll go to Pride. But they were like, Pride? Pride's happening now. And I'm like, it's in June, isn't it? I'm like, no, not for Charlotte. It isn't. So I don't know that they're aware of it.
Yeah, but well, the only reason I ask you that was because I've been watching the news, trying to see if it's been all over the news about the economic impact, the restaurants, everybody, they're all so excited. I'm naturally just always a little nervous because what's going on, and we're always pretty engaged in what's going on around the country. But all the mainstream bars and grills and breweries are having drag brunches all weekend. And I don't know if you guys are up to date, but anyone who's from the Charlotte, North Carolina region, our neighbor county, Union County, they had some thing that happened this weekend. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Jen, but there was a place that does a drag brunch or something, and the Proud Boys, I'm sorry, it's Freudian slip. The Proud Boys had threatened to protest, and they were going to bring their all of their rifles and all of their open arms and their dildos, and I don't know what the hell they bring. And so they had threatened to bring them. So the word got out, and all of supporters of this restaurant, LGBTQ and allies and all people, there was like 300 people showed up. There were so many people that showed up that the protesters decided to leave. And this is in Union County, Monroe Union County, which would be similar to us of like Waco, Texas, if you're from Texas, or I don't know how else to describe it. And so that was incredibly impressive. I almost like when I heard about that this weekend, I was like, that is just so wonderful. So I've been watching the news, trying to see the story on that. So it'd be interesting to see if there are any things that are going to occur like that. I hope they're not dumb enough to do something, but.
I mean,
Jenny, are you guys worried about safety?
No. I mean, for one, CMPD, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, has a massive presence there. So they are completely prepared. Our parade route is very well watched. There's a tremendous police presence and a tremendous security presence. It would be more their funeral than ours because
exactly.
It's not like a closed.
Excuse me.
Tryon has such good sight lines that it's not like a building. It's not like we have it inside a convention center or something like that, or even a business, because it is open air, and because the city of Charlotte obviously is a partner in this, and so they make sure that highly trained, highly skilled, in uniform and out of uniform, hidden police units are not just ready to roll, but
they're actually all kinds of stuff.
They have literally it's just wall to wall enough protection there, in case somebody were to do something stupid. It's so much different than what happened in Union County and other rural counties here. North Carolina and South Carolina lately. This wouldn't be the place. This is the place. If you fuck around, you are going to find out real fast.
I'm sure we'll have that token guy that has that big cross.
And to make a point, there has always been threats. There was threats in 2019. There's going to be threats in 2022. But it's usually just trying to intimidate it. Because there is such a you have a city that's the 15th largest city in the United States with a police force that I think has 35,000 officers, 40,000 officers, whatever it is. It's a massive police department, and we're right next to their headquarters. There's the sheriff's department as well, which is very well trained.
Yeah.
It's not there's enough deterrent there. I personally don't fear going down there. If it would be the one place it'd be like you might as well just try to break into the police headquarters, into the evidence room. I mean, you might as well just walk right into the jail cell, because they.
But I think, Jenny, you mentioned this. Yeah, you mentioned this last week or the week before. Just with any big event, you want to just. There's always common sense things that you want to, you're like Barb, you talked about when you went to Chicago. In any big city, any big event, there's always common sense safety measures that you need to take. I wouldn't park 3 miles away and walk all by yourself if it's getting dark, or something. Sure. That's any place, I would.
But this event being in a city center, it's one of the reasons we probably do it in the city center. One is the accessibility. the level of safety, the level of, it's a daytime event too. So it's not,
it's not like it's
it starts in the morning and runs to pretty much sundown, which is, I think it officially ends at 10, but most people clear out by 7 or 8, 9 o'clock, and then they're going to go to their late night events, the bars and the events and things like that. So, but for the most part, the majority of the stuff, especially when the families are there, is in broad daylight. I've been to a lot of prides in other cities, and I know Christian has too. I've never ever felt uncomfortable at a pride as far as security, including, I remember the city I lived in at the time when Pulse happened in 2016. It happened in the mid-month of June of 2016. I know that the pride that I was a part of at that time was concerned, but we had enough police presence. It was always well run. And the fact is that the Pulse shooting happened in a nightclub. It did not happen at a pride event. And, typically speaking, those type of events are just so secure, and it's so hard for a shooter to get an advantage at an event like that. Whereas, again, schools, churches, malls, casinos, places where there's fewer exits, there's not many options. There probably isn't a huge security presence there. Like most schools maybe only have one officer in or around the school, and they're not equipped to take on somebody with body armor and a mass shooting. Whereas these type of events, and whether it's an NFL football game or a pride event, cities always have so much of a security presence around that it would actually just be dumb.
That's the point, and I know what we'll do when this show drops on Wednesday. We'll also in the comments drop the link to Charlotte Pride, which will have their schedule. Show you where the vendors are if you want to go. The actual festival is actually Saturday and Sunday, so you can go anytime during the festival. There's concerts going on, or people singing. There's food, there's kids things, all kinds of Bank of America stage, Wells Fargo stage, and all kinds of stuff. And then Sunday is the actual parade.
Right. Yeah. And the parade lasts about 2.5 hours of just people walking and floats, and it's just a lot of fun, and that's what Pride has evolved into over the last 50 years is to just commemorate and honor the LGBT community and uplift it. It's something to do. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to a
great event,
it's for anybody that's never been to one, and especially if you're a straight person or a cisgendered person and you're not part of the community per se, you should go to one, because it's probably going to be a lot tamer than you realize. You're
going to go and go, man, I thought it was going to be like Mardi Gras.
You're going to see, it's nothing like Mardi Gras. So
it's just a parade, it's a festival. No.
Mardi Gras, which predominantly is straight people, is much more wilder.
I was just going to tell you, Jen, that I would be more afraid, living in Charlotte, which we all do. I would be more afraid going to race days than I would to this, because race days, they have like concerts that stay open to like 9 or to 8, 9, all these young people drinking and get, and it's just, and that's where they get fights and all, I'm like, this is like very different.
Personality types that you see at Pride events are pretty mellow. They're just there wanting to celebrate, and especially after 3 years of not having these type of events anywhere in the world. It's nice to see them back in full swing. And two, there's a lot of misconception about the LGBT community, which usually is because of homophobia and transphobia. But honestly, I can just tell you that most Pride events that are sponsored by the Pride org of that city or region tend to be more very moderate, very interested in, and it's more of a kind of a PR county fair type event. And of course your nighttime events that are in private deals are going to be a little bit more aggressive, but so is that with every community. If you go to, there's a big difference between going to an NFL game in a huge stadium and going to oil wrestling in a nightclub. They both are kind of sports, but there's a huge difference, but yeah, if you don't live in the Charlotte area and can't attend this thing, is that if you don't know much about the LGBT community, don't rely on, as we know after we survived COVID, is that I wouldn't rely on anybody's opinion on something. Is that a good thing is to go to one and just keep an open mind and actually learn. And just like anything else, the mind, just like a parachute, works a lot better when it's open.
Yeah, good point. So listen, Jen, let's take our last break, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. We only have about 14 minutes left. Our last break talks about a show that comes on 30 minutes after this one on Wednesdays at 11:30. Jenny leads that show. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. I'm sure she's got some great topics to talk about. So we'll be right back after she tells us about that show.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
Well, welcome back. Don't forget to join Jenny's show, and I'm on it on Two Queers in a Truck. That comes on about 30 minutes after this one. So, question, Jen. With the Pride Festival, this is my biggest concern. I want to march with so many groups. I don't know who to march with. I want to march with Moms Med Action. I want to march with Dr. B and Medicare for All. There's churches. My church is not actually marching, but there's some other groups that are marching. I want to march with my sports bar that we go to. They have a float. One year I was on the float, dancing on that float. You have to look at the video on that one. And so, what does a person do if they want to march with? Obviously, if they're with a group, notify your group and they'll tell you where they're meeting, because they all meet a little bit early. So my problem is I don't know who to march with.
Can't really help you with that. Can't really help you with that. You'll have to figure that. You're on your own on that one. But obviously, if you are affiliated with a civic group or any kind of group that does participate in the Charlotte Pride Parade, clearly you probably already know about it because they've already sent out the memos. Yep. Because I'm part of some of the groups that are non-LGBT groups, but are allied groups that are different, especially public policy groups like Indivisible, which we had one of the representatives on the show about 6 weeks ago, is marching in Pride. They do every year. And I saw the reminders today go out that, hey, making sure you RSVP and, and this is where we'll be meeting at. And so all those kind of assignments have gone out in the last few days, and we're getting up to that moment where now it's just, it's setting up the logistics, like they get out there on Fridays and making sure that everything is set up for, the people to put their booths up in the Saturday morning. And it's quite a production. And so it's quite interesting to watch it and having been on the logistical side of Pride events, not just here in Charlotte, but in other cities, it's quite a feat because the setup all happens Saturday morning for the festival.
Wow.
And it's broken down pretty quickly Sunday night. And then the parade, we start setting up fairly early in the morning as we check in the floats and, give them their little parking assignments until we launch the play, but that typically takes 4 to 5 hours.
My understanding is, Jen, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but my understanding is in Charlotte, if you're in Charlotte, this is a really busy weekend, not just because of Pride, but on Sunday you have the parade, and then there's the festival. Then there's a Panthers game.
Oh my!
Home game later on, plus a soccer game. So
how are they going to pull that off?
I have no idea.
But
that's what they said on the news. I guess
in the city. Oh my God!
I don't know how. No. Is it a baseball game? Maybe the Knights. Is it the Knights that are playing?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I know there's 2 sports games. So I know the Panthers. They play their preseason game.
Yeah.
And then it has to be the Knights. You're right. It couldn't be the soccer team. It has to be the Knights, the baseball team, because they couldn't switch over that quick yet. So it's going to be pretty busy. So all those people that are going to those games at night, they're going to want to come early. So I'm going to go to the parade. We got VIP tickets. Jen and I, we're going to hang out in the VIP tent so we can drink all free and eat free. And then I'm going to try to get out of there before all the
Traffic can start.
And Pride Weekend here in Charlotte, just like in any major city, for example, New York City, of course, already has millions of people living there and coming into work every day from the other surrounding states. But typically, I know like in 2019, which was the 50th anniversary party, I think their visitation rate over the last 2 weeks of that month, because they did almost 30 days worth of celebrations because it was the big 5-0. I think all total, I think they had a little over 11 or 12 million visitors. And their visitation and their traffic is always in the millions. It's always going to be, it's not even comparable to anything else in the world. Even Los Angeles and Chicago have massive events, but there's nothing like New York's. But even for a city this size, which we're a fraction of the size of an LA or a New York, ours is pretty big. It's one of the biggest in the Southeast region, and it's very well run. It's a lot of fun. It's and of course Charlotte's a lively city anyway. You got museums, and you got the arts, and you got typically very good weather. We're a regional powerhouse as far as economics is concerned. The weekends always get busier here anyway. We probably have
the breweries are up and running and jam packed because of the weather.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And we're a growing city. We had 100 people a day, according to the Chamber of Commerce, move here permanently. And so when you combine all that, it's really a massive thing. And there's so much positive. Are we a victim of our own success? Even with our LGBT community, we struggle on many things. We have, the controversy of gay bars and especially lesbian bars just disappearing overnight, and not just here in Charlotte, but this has been discussed for a long time because so many other bars are welcoming and now hosting drag shows and burlesque shows and so many queer events that queer all these spaces. Are they?
Hey, Jen, we only have about 7 minutes left, but I want to talk about that because you and I talked about that before the show. So just to remind people, then we're going to talk about this very briefly. Pride in Charlotte is Saturday and Sunday. Festival is both days. The parade is actually Sunday. If you can, take the light rail, or if now it's the time to meet all your friends in Uptown so you can park at their places, and so, this is this is when you go, you say hi to your friends, you send them, well, hey, can I come and visit you? Because otherwise you got to park in a garage and pay $20 and all kinds of stuff. So Jenny had touched on a topic that she and I were talking about right before we started taping the show. There was some research that was just done. The Boston Globe talked about these two researchers. The title of the research says that bachelorette parties are destroying LGBTQ safe spaces. They interviewed some mainly gay men. They didn't. It's kind of a swayed research that they tend to be a lot of bachelorette parties at gay clubs and drag shows and so. When I was in my undisclosed location, Key West, every night at the drag show, there was at least one bachelorette party. That's just what they do.
I think, though, too, and because I've worked in people bars and gay bars and things like that, is I'll say that
excuse me.
The good thing with these really inclusive places is the secret is out. As our society's embraced us, the double-edged sword is people are going, especially bachelorette parties where it's predominantly women and maybe their gay best friends, is they want to go to places where they're not going to get hit on, that they can let their hair down and feel safe. And typically those type of spaces and those type of events are fun, they're lively. They're on for just a short period of time, like 2 or 3 hours. They can still have fun, but be safe and not worry about, quite frankly, straight
masculinity is what the research said.
Pushing into their space. And and even if it's not a gay bar, if it's just like a touring drag show, and doing a pop-up event. One of my favorites that I go very often to, they're called the Vanity House here in Charlotte, North Carolina. They do these pop-up events, and I would say at least half the crowd is a non-LGBT crowd, but they'll have birthday parties, and they'll have these bachelorette parties, but they feel safe. I mean, universally, if you ask them, it's we've done such a good job of selling our community events and selling.
I was just going to say that
you are and how inclusive you are, and now that we've gotten people that want to hang out with us in the straight community, and that they're less afraid of us, and they won't catch the gabies or anything like that, is all of a sudden they're going, well, now we want to hang out with you. We're like, oh crap! Well, we didn't really want this. We just didn't want to get hate crimed every time we go to the mall, or the bank.
No, that's excellent point, Jen. And you and I talk about this, and you made the comment, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it. We're a victim of our own success, or the LGBTQ plus community is a victim of their own success. When I was down there, I was sitting by myself because I went many nights on my own. Was there a whole month. And this young lady sat next to me, and she was on vacation. She's by herself, and she had never been to a drag show before. And we were talking, and she said, "This is the best. I love it. It's so fun." And this, and and I bought her a drink because it was her first time. And she turned to me, she said, "This is the first time a guy has bought me a drink that I did not feel." She didn't say obligated, but she was just kind of. And I said,
"Sure,
I'm not going to hit on you." I mean,
yeah. So you're 100%.
I just want you to enjoy yourself. So she had such a great time, and I think the LGBTQ community is a very welcoming, loving community, and so I'm not surprised that people want to hang out, and
and the
anyway.
people in the community that don't like it tend to be, older gay men that just older men in general fall in two categories. They're either like the really sweet grandpas or they're the old crabs, and they just want our community to stay. They want it to stay the same, and I'm going. Our community is evolving and changing, just like our society, and we're just a microcosm of our overall country and our society in general. And so we have gay Republicans. We have bigots in our community. We have misogyny in our community. We have all the societal issues. We have the haves and the have-nots in our community, and we have all the ills that would fall, hit the overall country and even the city of Charlotte. We unfortunately suffer those same things because obviously we don't learn any better than anybody else does. And so sadly, we do suffer. And I think where a lot of those complaints come from is from older people in our community that aren't adapting to the change very well and miss just their little hole in the wall gay bars and, their version of Cheers. And, they don't want that to change too much. They don't want a bunch of these, baby Z's that are coming in there. They're just turning 21 and bringing in all their little straight girlfriends in there, hanging out and because it does change the dynamic. And Christian and I we're old enough to remember how gay bars used to be and how gay clubs used to be and how much more underground they used to be and how many safety precautions you had to stay, because in most states we were illegal. And so there was so much about us that we could get arrested for, and especially Texas, our home state. That
I was illegal for two reasons.
Yeah. I'm
sorry, Jen. I had to throw that one in there. Hey, listen, we got to end this show. Yeah, I know. We got to end this show. So it was humor. Thank you so much. It's been a great topic. I just want to remind y'all that next week's show is our fourth show of the month, and we'll be talking about why Dems Democrats run America's top city. We actually had moved that one because we did the MPV, the monkeypox show. And then the last show of the year, of the month, I'm sorry, for August is we're going to be talking about the Great Resignation and how the labor movement has revived. There's an article that came out in the Washington Post that talked about how all those who were part of the Great Resignation, now they're going, maybe I want my other job back. So it'd be interesting to talk about that show. So let's go around and Brady Butt screen. Tell us who you're going to be in 30 seconds or less. Jen and then Barb, if you don't mind.
Well, obviously, you know exactly where I'm going to be. But besides the in 30 minutes, you will see my face and Christian's face again on Two Queers and a Truck. But of course, obviously, this weekend I'm going to be in Uptown Charlotte, hanging out with about 200,000 of my closest friends, and trying to make Charlotte a welcoming city, and just enjoying the fact that we have a revival of prides around the world, including our own local one, and just trying to enjoy the moment. You know, hopefully everybody learned that from COVID, is that life is precious and time is valuable, and you better live it, because none of us get out of this alive.
That's right.
Barbara?
Well, I'm going to hopefully corral my neighbor Mary, and we're going to try to go to Pride. She wants to go, and she's very excited about it. She's 83, so she'll be a hoot.
I love that for her.
She's fun. You never know she was that age, so that it should be fun. But then Sunday we have something to do, so we won't make the parade.
Oh yeah,
One is better than none.
Yes, absolutely. And your neighbor will.
Tell us where you're gonna be. Maybe we can say hi from you.
Absolutely.
We can say hi to y'all. So when y'all go on Saturday, tell us where you're gonna be. We'll be in the VIP tent, so we may have to just wave.
All right.
I'm joking. I'm joking. We'll come out of the VIP area, right, Jane?
Okay.
We're not that bougie.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Maybe we'll do a special.
I'll text.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a special Two Queers show or something like that from the VIP
I'm sure,
tent if we can do that.
I'm sure the longer we spend in the VIP tent, consuming maybe some adult beverages and libations, probably the more likely there may be a pop-up moment.
We'll see. We'll be good.
I doubt it. I'm not gonna even make that fake promise. I'm like, no.
Well,
Pride weekend. She doesn't have promises.
yeah. So with that said, we do want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great show, and Barb, it's good to have you, and Jenny, thank you. We will see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm going to try to act like discreetly put the music back on. Here we go. Bye, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Technology. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching our Charlotte Pride edition of Coffee and Pan Dulce. And we appreciate every one of you for watching and tuning in, because it'd be really boring to talk to Christian every week. Barbara, not so much. She's always interesting, but we're glad that you watch. We hope you get something from it, and happy Pride to all the people out there for Charlotte Pride. Happy Pride. Y'all be safe.
Happy Pride, y'all.
Bye.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers and a Truck. Stay tuned.